Hey y'all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out another one of my videos. Today I'm super excited to be bringing you guys another duping of a fake palette, or duping the design. I've made this somewhat of a series on my channel where I take a concept palette that someone has created and I dupe it out with single shadows in my collection. So these palettes that I have in this whole duping the design, duping a fake palette series are not real. I'm always so sorry to disappoint anyone who clicks on these videos and expect a real palette. None of these are real. However, if you do like the color story, I show you how I dupe it out with my single eyeshadow palette collection, so maybe you can also get inspired to dupe it out, and then I create a look with a palette that I've duped out, and that is a look that I have on today. I really do enjoy the eye look and how it turned out, so I'm really excited to be getting into this. So with that said, let's go ahead and just jump right into it, and I'm going to show you guys the concept palette that I'm duping and the eyeshadows that I picked from my single eyeshadow palette collection to dupe this fake palette out with. I do want to give a shout out to Makeup Nico. She actually messaged me on Instagram and sent me this palette that we're going to be duping today and asked if I would be able to dupe it at all. So this palette is getting duped today, especially by her. So thank you so much for sending it my way, and thank you for letting me mention you in this video. But yeah, it was an absolutely gorgeous palette. This was created once again by Doodles by the Bunny, and it is this palette, which is called the Naked Envy palette, and it is a beautiful green themed palette. I almost picked this one a little while ago when I was selecting palettes for a previous video. This palette looks so pretty, so I was super excited when she asked me if I would want to dupe it out, and that's what we're doing today. So Nico, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you like the eye look that I did with this palette. And yeah, so this is the palette, this is the concept palette that we're going to be duping out, and my dupe to this looks like this. Now, hopefully I have the ratio right. But yeah, this is my Urban Decay Naked Envy palette. We're going to go through per usual with my videos, and I'm going to swatch them all out for you and explain why I pick it and the finish that I see in the pictures with the Naked Envy that Doodles by the Bunny created, and kind of explaining to you guys why I picked the shadow, and also telling you what the shadows are, so in case you have any of these in your collection, you can pull them out and get this palette as well, and you can have your own Naked Envy palette even though it's not a real palette. So yeah, this is my palette. I always love to show you guys like the first full reveal of what it looks like. Let's go ahead and I'm going to scoot over and swatch this palette out together. Okay, so I had a little bit of issue getting it to focus on my arm, but I moved around a little bit. I think we got it going, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first shadow in the Urban Decay Naked Envy palette is called Longing, and this one almost looks like it could be, it's probably more of a satiny type of very pale yellow. I took it to be more of a matte because I thought this palette would be so fun with a matte yellow that's still very light. So for this shadow, I actually picked it from my Honey palette from ColourPop, and I grabbed the Sweet Spot shade up here, which looks like this. I figured it looks pretty bright, but when you actually go and use it and swatch it and whatnot and use it in looks, it's not quite as intense. So I picked a yellow one. This one was a little bit of a liberty because, like I said, it looked more like a pale, probably more of a satiny shade, but I thought this would be a fun addition. So that's why I went a little bit more yellow than maybe the color that the palette shows. Just gonna swatch it out right here. So yeah, it looks pretty yellow, but like when you actually use it in looks, I used it in today's look, I feel like it looked a lot lighter than you would think, you know, just swatching it out. But anyway, a little bit of a liberty there, but you guys know I love a good yellow. The next shade in the Urban Decay Naked Envy palette was called Yearn, and this one looked like a really pretty, it was kind of almost, depending on the light, it's like a really light, almost minty green type of look. Like sometimes it would look very minty when I looked at it, but other times it looked a little bit more green, like not so much of a blue mint. So anyway, for this one, I decided to do Courtyard because it does have that shift to the shadow in it. So I was like, you know, it's kind of showing me that shift. Maybe not as minty blue in this green as I see in the eyeshadow, but like I said, there were so many times I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, that's like a really bright mint blue. And then other times I looked at it, I was like, no, that looks a lot more green, like more of a lime green. So I decided to go with Courtyard since it was playing with me so hard when I was duping this shadow out from Cleona. I think I said Courtyard from Cleona. But anyway, I decided to go with this shadow because it is that multi-chrome, so it can give you that appearance of being two shades. I'm gonna swatch it right there next to it. Oh, this shade is so pretty. There is what it looks like. So gorgeous. Next up is going to be Craving, and this is like a matte green that has a little bit of like gray to it. So for that, I picked the M Cosmetics Palm Tree. I felt like this was a really good match, especially when I was like, or match, not matte. Really good match to the picture, especially when I was like swatching it out. I just felt like it was very accurate to what I saw in the palette of being a green, but it has that almost gray tone to it. And of course, swatching it out is just amazing because M Cosmetics shadows are so nice. Next is Aspire, and this is like a very cool tone taupey shade. And so for that, I thought of the Whale Song eyeshadow palette in the shade Plankton, and it looks like this right here. It's a really, really beautiful shadow, just a very cool tone type of taupe, so I thought it was dead on there. And here's what it looks like. I don't have too much to say about this because it is, I mean, in my opinion, just more of a boring shadow, I guess you would say. I mean, it's fine. I didn't end up using it in today's look, but I felt like it was pretty spot on. Moving right along, next was Envy. And this one is more of a true green slash it's like a minty green, and it's very similar to other ones in the shadow. So I decided to interpret this more of a lime green because there was a lot of mint in this palette, and I didn't want it to get too repetitive. So this one has a bit of a different shade of green. Again, I took a little bit of a liberty here in picking this shadow, but I had another shadow in here, but it was so close to the other mint in my, that I already have in my palette we're going to talk about in a minute, that I decided to grab the Give Me Glow, what is this called? Lemon Lime palette, so more of a lime green. Again, a little bit of a liberty here. Let me know if you guys don't like when I, take liberties like this when selecting my shadows, if you want me to just focus more so on getting exact dupes, or kind of not curating it to my preferences, but maybe being a little bit biased in my choices, so that is more of my preference. I don't know, I kept going back to this shade of Give Me Glow Shadow, the Lemon Lime. I love it so much, so I ended up choosing that one. And yes, I do understand it's a little far off from the inspiration photo. Next up was Green Eye, and for this one I took the shade Reef from the Menagerie Cosmetics Whale Song palette. Once again, reached into that. This is such a beautiful shadow, and I felt like it was pretty spot on and had the right amount of depth even too, which surprised me. But as we go along in here, as I get to the deeper shadows, I did have a little bit of a struggle to find deep enough greens to dupe this palette out, but there is that. So beautiful. I felt like that one was pretty spot on. Maybe not as much of like a hunter green. It's a little bit more corally green, as you would assume from a Menagerie, Whale Song palette. But anyway, as close as I could get it in my collection. Next up is Covet in the Urban Decay palette, and for that one I picked the JD Glow Gold. This is from their Metallion collection, but ooh, look at that beautiful gold. I felt like this was such a good pick for this shadow because it's that gold, but it has that little bit of like dirtiness to it that I guess I always describe as like a dirty gold look to it. And this is such a nice shade to work with. I almost went more of a goldy route with my look today. But you guys know me, I opted for more of a green look, but there it is, absolutely beautiful. And I felt like that was a spot-on match to what I saw in the palette. Okay, next up is Jealousy. And for this one, this is where I went that really minty green. And this is where, like with the previous shadow, I was kind of having a struggle because I felt like the two that I were choosing were just so similar. So hence why I swapped out the other one. But anyway, for this one, I chose Kristen Lee Cosmetics Curious Shadow. This is such a beautiful shadow, and I was so excited to get to use it again. It's been a while since I used these Kristen Lee. This was part of the Mean Green collection, but it's such a great shadow. I've done a video with her whole Mean Green collection that I had so much fun making because it was all these green looks. I think it was 5 tutorials in that video. Anyway, that's the last time I used this shadow. Like, look how bright. It's so pretty. So I was excited to get to pull this for this Duping the Design video today, but like, look at that. Oh, so pretty. Such a beautiful minty green. I felt like that one was pretty close. Next up is Desired, and for this it's just a matte green, and I decided to pick this Coastal Scents Prehistoric Green. I'm not the craziest fan of Coastal Scents shadows, especially their mattes. I just feel like they're a little underwhelming. You have to really, really pick it up. And depending on the shade, I don't think greens are that bad, but the purples definitely weren't my favorite. But for the sake of this video, this is the closest green that I could find color-wise. And here it is, swatched out. I feel like it looks darker in the pan than I can get it to swatch, but I mean, honestly, if I sat here long enough and built it up, I could get it to look like what it is in the pan, but I think that's just how the shadow is. I'm not surprised that it's swatching like that. Next up is Grudge, and for this shadow I decided to pick this Artifact from Shroud Cosmetics because I felt like this was so spot on. It's got that dirty gold, really bronzy tone, but it has a hint of green in it, which is what I see in the Naked Envy palette. So this Artifact is just the perfect choice for that. I felt like it was so close to home. And here's swatching it out. I think you'll see this is another shade I almost wanted to use today because it was just, it's so beautiful. But yeah, in that, I think it's really, really close to what I see in the Naked Envy palette. Okay, next up I have Greed, and this one, again, I took a little bit of a liberty, but I decided to choose a multi-chrome. This is JD Glow's Seaweed Multi-Chrome, and the reason being is that I don't have very many of these like royal, like just very royal greens, I guess is what I see in the pan. I almost had one that I chose, but I decided to keep it for the last shade in it because I don't have anything that deep of a matte green. We'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, for this shadow for Greed, I decided to pick Seaweed from JD Glow. So we get a multi-chrome in here. I know it's a bit of a stretch because it's definitely much more of a bright shadow than what you kind of see in the concept palette, but I took some liberties. But I feel like it still gives you that really dark green when you get some angles. I'm going to try to do a bigger swatch. See, it looks so true green straight on, but from this side it has much more depth and like almost a blueness to the green. I wish I could show you guys, but I just can't because I'm not that good at multi-chromes. But anyway, there is that shadow. Okay, and last up, for the very last shade in the Urban Decay Naked Envy, it's Monsters, and this is such a deep, rich, beautiful matte green, but I do not have anything like that in the matte version. However, I have one like it in a shimmer version, and this is Kristen Lee Cosmetics Endeavor. Now, I know it is a shimmer, and usually I'm like, oh no, I don't like the deepest colors to be shimmer. However, this is a fantastic shimmer because while it has that shine, it behaves and works really well as a matte. So I use it in today's look, and I feel like you can't really even tell. And in that previous video where I did the Mean Green collection from Kristen Lee, I did a lot of the looks and I used this shade to deepen it up. So I know it was very friendly and easy to use as a dark outer corner matte. So that's what I used it for today, and that's what I'm using for in this look because I just don't have a dark green in a matte version that is that deep, but I wanted it to be this deep. So I feel like color-wise it's very spot on. It's just the wrong finish. It's a shimmer and not a matte. But anyway, there is my Urban Decay Naked Envy palette. What do you guys think? Per usual, I'll put them both on the screen here so you guys can get a really up-close look. I really like how it turned out, and I feel like I know that lime green is a bit of a pop of something different from the palette. But anyway, that is my palette, and I'm super happy with it overall. I think it's a really pretty color story and totally a palette I would buy if it came out as a real one. Okay, so now that we have swatched that out, let's go ahead and get right into doing the actual tutorial. I'm going to be doing this a little bit differently. In the past, I've done more of a walkthrough, very laid back type of tutorial where I do it live on camera and chat as I go. But I feel like my videos tend to be very long, and when I look at the analytics of those videos, they tend to kind of drop off where the tutorial starts. So I decided to try something different to see if it might help it just be a little bit more easy to watch and just not so long and drawn out, because I totally understand my videos can get so very long. But anyway, so I'm going to be doing more of a voiceover style. I got this idea from Alejandra Lizette, who I did a duping of the design with last month, and she does it in a voiceover style. So I'm going to be trying that for this video. Let me know your thoughts down below if you prefer this or if you like the more on-screen, on-camera, you know, laid-back style and much longer. I feel like since I'm doing my casual chit-chat, get ready with me videos, I can kind of shorten, you know, a video like this up and just kind of keep it straight and to the point, but your feedback is welcome. So anyway, let's go ahead and just jump right into the tutorial at this point. So going in first, after priming my eyes, I took the Cosmetics green shadow in Palm Tree, and I put that all into my crease and just really worked on building this up. I wanted this to be the first shade that I put on to really get, you know, kind of set the stage of being a very green themed crease. I definitely wanted my crease to have some depth, but I wanted to kind of put down a stationary color first to kind of set my crease and make sure that the blending would be easy. Once that shade was really blended out, I went ahead and went into the yellow actually, and I decided to take this and kind of halo that and help diffuse and blend that into my brow because I didn't want the green to be too harsh, and I just thought that the yellow might be an interesting mix and just give it a little bit of a different look as I blended my eye look out. So I really liked how that turned out. And after that, I went ahead and went into the Menagerie Cosmetics Reef Shadow, and I packed that into my crease and really worked to really blend that in and get a lot of definition in my crease because I wanted my crease to be very dark, but also working it up into that first green shadow that I put down from Cosmetics. And I just wanted to make sure all three shadows, the dark green, the lighter green, and the yellow, had a very nice and seamless blend to it. So yeah, I just kind of went back and forth and played around with it until I liked how it looked. And once I was happy with that, I went on to my outer corner. And for this one, like I said, when I was swatching it out, I used the Kristen Lee Cosmetics in Endeavor, and I packed that on my outer corner. And as you can see, I feel like it doesn't really look like a shimmer or glitter or anything like that. It kind of behaves like a matte with a bit of a sheen to it, but honestly, you don't really see that sheen. So I don't mind using this as a matte in my outer corner. And also too, when blending this into the other shadows and like blending this up into my crease, it was so very effortlessly. I was very impressed and pleased with how this blended out. I moved on to my lid and I put down a glitter glue just to make sure these shadows popped as much and also stayed put on my eye. And first up, I went on with the mint in this palette, which is Kristen Lee Cosmetics Curious, and I put this on the very center of my lid, worked it up to the top. I wasn't really doing a half cut crease, but you guys know me, I like to define where my crease is and where like the shimmers and the mattes end and whatnot. But then I didn't take it all the way into my inner corner because for that I wanted to save it for the lime green, which is the Give Me Glow's Lemon Lime shade, and I put this on my inner corner and brought it over to the middle and just spent some time going back and forth blending the two. I really love this lime shade from Gimme Glow. It's definitely one of my favorites from them, and anytime that I get a chance to use it, I am just such a happy camper. And today, blending that lime green with the mint green blue shade in the palette, I thought was a really, really pretty mix, and I loved how the two meshed together and how much of a beautiful gradient it gave me. And then I finished out the rest of my makeup and came back for my lower lash line. And for this, I just took a little bit more of that Endeavor shade from Kristen Lee Cosmetics, and I smudged that right into my lower lash line, sticking it really close because I didn't want the darkness to go down too far. After that, I took a little bit of that yellow shade from the ColourPop Honey palette, and I started smudging it out because I wanted to, kind of wrap this yellow all around my eye look. And as I was, using it and smudging it out, I just felt like it was too much of a distinct line between the really dark green and the yellow from the Honey palette. So after a little bit of blending, I was like, you know what, I need one more shade in here just to kind of mesh and marry these two together. So that's when I went ahead and took a little bit more of Palm Tree from M Cosmetics, and I did just that. I married the two together, put it right in between the really dark green and the yellow, and just the teeniest little bit, and spent some time at meshing them together. And I thought that shade did the trick. It blended it out seamlessly and beautifully, so I was really happy with that. Went around with the yellow a little bit more just to make sure I liked the diffusion of the yellow around my entire eye look, and that was pretty much the look. From then I just kind of finished out with doing my mascara, and then for my inner corner, almost forgot, but my inner corner, I did take that Clionado Cosmetics shadow in Courtyard, and I packed that on my inner corner, and it is a beautiful inner corner little highlight, a little pop of light. And yeah, that was pretty much the look. If you're curious, I finished up with lipstick, which was the Lip Blaze from Lime Crime in the shade Herb. I've been absolutely loving that lipstick oh so much. I feel like I've been wearing it so many of my videos, but yeah, that is pretty much the look. I'll go ahead and show you guys a little bit of close-ups just like I like to do, so you guys can get a really up close look at how the eyeshadow looked and how all the blends ended up marrying together and whatnot. And yeah, overall, I really like the look. I'm sure it's not surprising because it is a very green palette, and you guys know I love a good green theme palette. But yeah, that is the Urban Decay Naked Envy palette. Alright, so there you have it. That is me duping the fake palette, the Urban Decay Naked Envy palette. Urban Decay, if you ever want to come out with this palette, that'd be fantastic because I think it's absolutely beautiful. But yeah, that was me duping the design. I didn't say in the beginning, but the duping of the design title comes from Ari Lynette, who I always leave linked down below in my description box. He created that series, and he does that series over on his Instagram page if you ever want to check it out and get some more inspiration. And he creates a lot of very beautiful concept palettes. I've duped them on my channel in the past. If you want to check out the playlist, I'll put it up here, and you can watch more of these style videos. As I said, I'd love your feedback on the way I do these videos. If you guys enjoyed more of the voiceover at the end, or if you guys enjoyed more of the tutorial and the longer videos, or do you like them shorter? Give me your feedback down below. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I am going to try to do them more on a consistently monthly basis. I'm being very lenient with me. You guys know I'm trying not to hold myself to any must do every single month, but as much as I am able, I'll try to do it every single month. So if you ever have a request of a palette you'd like to see me dupe, feel free to DM me on Instagram with the palette, and if it's a palette that's up my alley, if it's a palette I think I have enough, shadows to dupe it in my collection, I will be happy to do it. I was super happy to be able to do the Urban Decay Naked Envy palette, so thank you so much for reaching out to me, Nico, and asking if I could dupe it. I had a lot of fun today, and this is a beautiful palette, a palette that I can definitely see myself creating a lot more looks if I had the time. Like, I feel like there's just so many beautiful looks you can get with this. You can even go very neutral without going too greeny, and I think that's always fun to have that option in a palette. But yeah, with all that said, thank you once again for watching, and I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye guys.